Ethiopia, Africa's second most populous nation, held its seventh general election in June. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's ruling Prosperity Party secured a commanding parliamentary 80% majority in the House of People's Representatives. But the vote has not been without its controversy. Voting didn't take place in the entire Tigray region and was also restricted in parts of Amhara and Oromia, and this was due to ongoing security challenges. Critics have raised questions about civic space, access for opposition parties, and the scope of international observation. Well, to get Addis Ababa's perspective on all of this, I spoke to Ethiopia's head of mission to South Africa, Her Excellency Mrs. Dessie Alebachew Maru. And I began by asking her what these elections meant for democracy in her country. Ethiopia has just held what is being described as perhaps one of the biggest democracy projects this year, with more than 54 million people registered to vote, 48 parties contesting, and millions of people going out to vote on election day. What does this tell us about civic participation and Ethiopia's uh, commitment to democracy?
As you know, that Ethiopia is one of the oldest nation with a rich history, and the people knows the law, rule of law, and there was a continuous conflict, internal conflict in Ethiopia for the last 3, 4 years. There are people became very fed up from that conflict, and they wanted to have a stable government in Ethiopia to increase its democratic rights and economic development. Therefore, people choose uh, peace over conflict and stability over insecurity. And therefore, that is why people decided with the majority of the people, it is more than expectation, even from the government side. And for me, it is my first time that people are coming out to give its vote to the government, because it was normally between 20 to 32 million before for the last bit. Actually, the demographic condition will be increased, but the difference or the percentage, the increased percentage is very big for this matter, because people wanted to show the armed forces and opposition parties, including the government, that they have to bring confidence with the government and give responsibility to the government as well. Not only confidence of what, but the responsibility for the government to bring peace.
So the African Union gave the elections the thumbs up, with the AU Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Bankole Adeoye, saying that the election marked significant progress in Ethiopia's efforts to strengthen democratic institutions, and expressed confidence in Ethiopia's continued efforts to promote lasting peace. So I guess the way the African Union and many people in Ethiopia probably looked at these elections and said that they were free and fair. But we do know that voting couldn't take place in the entire Tigray region and was suspended at 143 polling stations in Oromia and Amhara due to insecurity. Does this mean that millions of Ethiopians were effectively excluded from the democratic exercise? What's the government's response to that?
As an Ethiopian, I'm very sorry as not involving inclusive for every part of the Ethiopian. But the Ethiopian election board tried to convince the TPLF leaders in Tigray. The people at large in Tigray wanted to have to involve in the voting process, but the TPL hardliners, they are divided in three. Mainly, one of them, they are seated in Mekelle in the Tigray region. They don't want, they decline to meet to meet and discuss with the Ethiopian electoral board. They tried for three times, and the first time, lastly, they declined to meet the Ethiopian electoral board. And based on that, and the prime minister and other ministers, religious leaders, elders, they are trying to bring the TPLF hardliners to for the sake of making peace and stability and coherence of unity in the nation. But they don't want to come to take share with the election because they know that people at large they don't want to support them, and they are the old generation. They are mostly from the 16th generation. The young Tigray, they don't want to be participated. They don't want the PPF leaders. They don't have any opportunity to bring young people on the front side, and that is why the people is not happy, and the people try to convince their party, but the TPLF has it is the people as a hostage, and that is why the government don't want to go war or conflict. Instead, embarking the international community, African Union, and other responsibility bodies to advise, to negotiate, or to warn. And now the African Union, the US government, EU started measures on the TPLF side. On the Amara, they are all, there is not any place in Oromia. All zones in Oromia processed election. Only 8 zones. That is, I don't know. Every zone have some election polls, but 8 electoral zones from Amara, because of insecurity, they didn't want to involve, but the election board and the elder people, regional leaders, religions from the Christian, the Muslim, the Protestant leaders, they try to bring them, but they don't want. This is the 21st century, but they refuse and they ignore to come and discuss, to negotiate, to bring peace in Ethiopia and part of Amhara. But the people and show it is angry show, because that is why people are running out to vote, to give vote, to show them. Otherwise, they don't want to support them. Now, many people, many armed forces are coming after election for peace. It will continue from Oromia and from Amara. Many armed young people are coming to discuss and to negotiate with the government, and I hope it will work. But election will be held, I hope, in the beginning of September or before the government coming to power or to make cabinet. The government will try to make election in those areas that are not participated on the recent voting system. Therefore, I have a confidence maybe all Ethiopians will be included in the parliament.
Ethiopia is navigating some pretty serious security challenges at the same time. Conflict in Amhara, Oromia, a fragile peace in Tigray. I think you've described parts of that already, and deteriorating relations with Eritrea, also in sharp focus. What are the plans to manage these situations going forward, to bring national reconciliation and security for the country, particularly in the region?
The government of Ethiopia is requesting the African Union, the AU, and any international community to bring the hardliners, the armed forces, to come and negotiate with the government to bring peace in the whole of Ethiopia. Therefore, I think the AU and coordinating with the African Union, AU, and the facilitator was America, yes, and they are trying to negotiate to bring these people to calm down. Otherwise, the Ethiopian government would take measures, but the international community strongly advised the government to be patient and to take time instead of going war, and they are trying to bring them, and that's why the government staying imparting peace still. Therefore, we are waiting for the international community and the ambassador of America and Addis Ababa is trying to visit to Tigray recently, and I have an information. Maybe he will go the last trip to Tigray and will discuss maybe with the TPLF leaders. And in Amara and region Amara and Oromia, we will have there is a compared to last year, compared to the situation before 6 months, now armed forces, the number of armed forces are significantly minimal. And therefore, the people, the old people, the elders, the religion leaders, they are trying, and the government is also embarking to bring these people instead of getting war to make negotiation and making peace. And I hope for the regional there may not be any war. In terms of the Eritrean government, they are trying to proxy war on the back of TPLF. They are making what they call SIMDO, that is unity of Tigrayan TPLF, and but in the end, the government of Eritrea, some outsiders also involved in that proxy war. They are preparing to start a proxy war, but we are still patiently following up with sharing the information with the AU and AU and EU and the international community, and therefore we are trying to negotiate the problem for the frustration for the government of Eritrea is the Ethiopian question of access to sea. Therefore, access to sea we are requesting in peaceful way in the win-win situation and give and take with the diplomatic community. The ocean or the water is enough for all of us, but we can take something from Eritrea and we'll give them to Eritrea. Therefore, we will grow up mutually. Therefore, we are working to bring understanding and to break the misunderstanding of the government of Eritrea and the government of Eritrea, especially the president or the leaders are not still the same like TPLF leaders. They work together and they got in a lawful, not in a lawful, because of on the temporary government, we miss our access to sea in ASAV. And the ASAV is not now idle, it is idle. But if you can use that water with the negotiation, that port, then we'll give them another alternative. Therefore, the global market is give and take and win-win situation, and we are trying. But I don't think so war will start with international community worried about just before 5 months. They started always they were talking about war, but still I don't think so. Even in the with the Eritrean side, but if they are starting war, we will take measure to keep our sovereignty. Otherwise, we are looking them and they are divided by each other. When we are taking time, they are dividing each other. Therefore, we are trying to see that. That will be a very important diplomatic way of, and we will have a true name as a Pan-Africanist, as African Union host country. We will take more patient instead of aggravating the situation in the region.
And then perhaps finally on the economic front, I know that a lot of work has been going on for some years now, and Prime Minister Abiy, I remember the stock exchange being resurrected. I believe the banking sector is being reformed, perhaps opening doors to foreign investment. What's your message to the international community, for investors and partners across the continent?
Okay, thank you very much again. I just want to add about Ethiopian National Dialogue Forum to be held on the 15th of July. The main purpose of the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission aims to build consensus on the critical issues, address long-standing challenges, and therefore demographic and lessons will be taken, and the agendas have been selected, and from all parts of the country, the national dialogue will be held starting July 15 to for the constitutive 3 weeks from July 15 for 3 weeks will be, and that will bring a peace and consensus within Ethiopian citizens, and will have a consensus national interest. Saying on that, on the economic side, the government of Ethiopia is strongly working hard, and the people of Ethiopia is very happy for the economic priorities, and the government have given a priorities for agriculture, manufacturing, mining, digital technology, tourism, and including infrastructure, and building renewable energy, and we have the capacity of energy, that is hydro from Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. We are producing around 6,000 megawatt, and we are exporting electricity to Kenya and South Sudan, and some Djibouti as well, and they were working to reach to Tanzania, and we are working on that on the food security side, because as I have said earlier, the government is trying to secure food for its people, and if possible to export to other African countries, and by agriculture, our most of our people are dependent on agriculture. That is why we have to modernize agriculture, and therefore we have to continue for agro processing, and also for agro processing. We are one of the oldest nation and never colonized. Our minerals are untapped. No, therefore, that is the Prosperity Party bring mining, and that impacts our export level, because it was coffee for our side leading the export market, but now gold and other mineral outputs are leading coffee, and they became the first export items, products from Ethiopia. Manufacturing is another. Okay, we have focused on manufacturing in different areas, including agro processing, and that will bring also job. Digital market is digital economy. Digitalized economy is very important, and if we are going to digitalize, we can give a public service with online services, this digitalization was very important, helpful for the people of registering in the vote also, because the young people was registered through the internet or through the online platform that brings a significant amount for the increase of voters in Ethiopia. Tourism is another one, as you know that tourism and urban development, starting from Addis Ababa now, more than 65 towns and cities are under construction and Addis Ababa became a very beautiful city in the continent, and therefore the infrastructure. And also we are attracting international investment, international trade, and especially for the continent. We wish to work to strengthen our relations with investment, trade, tourism, and everything with the African continent and beyond. Therefore, the priorities are this, and other basic infrastructures are undergoing. And as you know, the main import for Ethiopia was fuel and fertilizer. Now the fertilizer company from Dangote, a Nigerian company, came to Ethiopia and started the fertilizer. And the other one is the $12.5 billion airport construction, and that will make a big difference for Africa, and it will be a hub, aviation hub of Africa, even for aviation park for the world as well. And I hope we'll have a very connected continent in Africa, and we are also looking for connecting Africa with the railway, as you know that. Including the Chinese Belt Road, and we are working hard with the 2060 agenda, connecting Africa together with the railway in a good quality road connection and others. Therefore, we are working hard with that also, and hope the next future will be for Africa.
Your Excellency, Madam Dessie Alebachew Maru, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on Channel Africa.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for inviting me to discuss Ethiopian current election condition, and I'm very happy having you. Thank you so much.